Quack, quack. Quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, quack. Is that what you wanted? Come here, Ketchup. No! Ketchup had friends! Ketchup had friends! I'm proud of you, Kung Fu. That's what I'm talking about. Put an end to the Ketchup menace. Alright, y'all ready to see an artiste at work? Let's go! We got him, baby! It doesn't matter! We got him! We trade! We take those! Oh my god! Always scared when I go over that frog that it's gonna sparkle. I swear to Christ. I swear on all that's holy. What was it? That is a shiny Krogunk, yes. They don't call me Sharpshooter Kodak for a reason. Alright, good night, y'all. Alright, yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. God. But, did I lose power? Yeah, don't worry about that. It's fine. We did at one point. That's, hold on. I got you. Didn't even work. What do they have? Want to see something crazy? Show me the Rillaboom. Show me the Rillaboom. Show me the fucking Rillaboom. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go! Oh, that's too love the suit. Parastellar acrobatics absolutely KOs, right? Watermain protects. Show it to me, baby. Come on. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, that one hits different. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no. Nice penis.
Oh, the bullet bill? The clutch bullet bill? That was rude. That was extremely rude.
What's up, dork? Or man? Hey man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Bro. Chill. No. It's fine. Yo. Hey man. I didn't mean it like that. My cat impression's on point. Yeah, I've been practicing.
Really good.
Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes, you know, I can just say something like, that was the part where you were supposed to talk.
No.
Yeah, that's my impression because she never listens to me. You know how it is.
Perhaps if you give it a riddle, it will come out. So.
I'm gonna take this bear. If you have a train moving 50 miles southeast at 3 miles an hour, and another train moving northwest at 17,000 miles an hour, and you have a hostage situation with 2 teddy bears, hunt. It did it.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yo, it worked! It worked! That was incredible. I'm famous. But hey, I found Zach first. You made me La Primera, but you can't go stealing her from me. Oh, territorial. Are we done? Go ahead, do it. I know the plan. I can literally see chat. I swear to Christ, Leave, I'm going to murder you.
Nick, she's a research student at the university. Country mutant. She just said that. So, when did you come up here? Let me see. I guess it was about 3 days ago. What are you photographing? Photographing. Photographying. Photography. Photographing. My brain just like shorted out there for a second. I don't know what just happened. This is really like.
Here I come, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather. You can call me Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. I'd rather flex my muscles. Hi, how are you doing? How is everybody? Happy Saturday. Buppy just got back from a walk, so she has some interest in what's in my hand right now. They're little treats, and they're a B for Buppy. Griffey, congratulations on first. Hello. Hi. How, There she goes again. There she goes again. But hi, how is everybody? Happy Saturday, happy weekend to you all. Hope you are all having a good one. Cat, congratulations on first. Bree, Leaf, I don't know how you managed to get timed out seconds into being here, but I'm impressed. Griffey, congratulations on first as well. And anybody else who's out there hanging out, lurking about, hope you are all doing well. I don't have avatars going, that's why. I said what the Sigma? Okay, yeah, deserved actually, yeah. Is this gonna just be the thing now that you're gonna do? She just got back from her walk. I took her while I was on the starting screen out for her evening walk, and she always comes back from these walks very energetic. How did you manage to knock this all the way over here? How did you manage that? Also, I don't know if I've ever shown it off, but it did come in the other day. It's been in the background. But we have a belly bolt now. Hi, yes. We have a belly bolt now. He sits on the couch. Okay, well, he somewhat sits on the couch. But hi, how is everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Today is finally the day that we get to start our journey in the grand challenge. The first of, there's a bunch of them, aren't there? There's like 8 online competitions of some sort over the next year. There's a lot of them. This is the first one. We have locked in with a kind of normal but somewhat silly team, and I'm excited to get in because I have seen many clips. The GCs are always a thrilling time of year because boy, you just never know what you're gonna see, and I think that's the most exciting part. Yes, that's what we're gonna be doing tonight. I'm very excited for it. Next week we will have at least one normal stream, either Monday or Tuesday, to finish Persona 3 Reload, and then later in the week we might have some shenanigans getting cooked up. Some fun stuff for a special day, if you will. So that should be a good time. Very excited for all of that. What else? What are you doing? I can't leave you unattended for 3 damn seconds without you going crazy all of a sudden. You were literally like 95% asleep before I took you out. I had to rattle her awake to get her to go outside. But now she has so much energy. Truly, who knows? So yes, let me turn on my Switch actually first. That would probably be the smartest thing for me to do. So let us get down to business, shall we? It's time. We can only put it off for so long. It's time to play the GC. We Smeargle Muck 15 games in a row. God, I can only hope so. That would give me great content because it would take us like 3 hours to play our 15 matches. It would take us so fucking long. All right, we have 0 battles, no rating, no number. Let's go. So I brought a silly, goofy little team. Yeah, right now I can play all 45. Smeargle Muck, all 45 matches. Let's go. That's a Scizor, and a Lucario, and a Greninja, and a Skeledirge, and a Char's. Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's an in-game team if ever I saw one. I could not agree with you more. I feel like I want Rillaboom for the 2 water types. Brought in nickname the Blaziken. Bro, I had no time. I forgot, and then I had no time. I feel like Rillaboom's really good for the 2 water types here, but struggles heavily against the 2 fire types, which I'm a little more threatened by, I think. Just name it KFC? No. Everybody and their mother has a fucking, you know, chicken wing or KFC or something similar named Blaziken. Oh, this guy's got no profile picture. Not a real player. He's smurfing. Charizard, Scizor. Okay. Charizard used Hurricane. Right you are. Aerial Ace. Okay. Where's the Rain Dance mouse hold? I'm saying. Close combat, make sure we don't break our sash. We're hitting a resist either way. Hold. They're terastallizing something. The Scizor. Flying. Okay. Of the types that I was expecting to see, that was not very high on the list, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I guess it's for more powerful aerial aces. Into the Scizor, or into the Golden Go. Great. Big damage. What comes in? Milotic. That's exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to click coaching and I'm going to click nasty plot because I just simply do not care about these two. Yeah. No, I'm aware. I'm perfectly aware of what's going on here. This is content. Aerial Ace. Oh no, my Blaziken. Oh no. Guys, oh no. What will I do now? Genuinely, what do either of these mons do to Golden Go? That's a legitimate question. How slow is that Dingo? It's, I think 188 modest. I want to say. I don't remember the number exactly. Yeah, I'm more surprised by the Milotic outspeeding the Scizor. Milotic is very fast. Is naturally faster, yes, but nobody runs fast Milotic. Dragon Pulse, okay. Big damage. Aerial Ace, okay. They really don't like that Dragonite. They're completely ignoring this +2 Golden Go, which I think is quite funny. This is max speed on both? I believe so, yes. Goodbye, Milotic. My Golden Go is gonna get back to full HP, despite going for the greediest nasty plot in the world because they just ignored it for 2 turns. Not the Lucario. Actually, I think Terra Blast is just straight up stronger. Lucario is not heavy at all. Oh, whoa, whoa, man, what? Whoa, whoa, man. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's a slow, and that it ate a +1 Shadow Ball, so it's got some bulk in it. Well, I'm just gonna Terra Blast and nasty plot, I guess. What else am I gonna do here? Oh, big damage. Alrighty then. Good first match, I would say. What? Why did they rage quit? Did they still think they had a shot? Oh, that's so funny. Not the game one rage quit. There's a DC bug exploit. Of course there is. Well, I get credit for the win, so I'm fine with it. All right, Will. My guy Will with okay. All right. Yeah, no. This, we'll see how this goes. This is one of the teams that, you know, I knew I was going to play 10 times because it's, you know, the most popular team right now. And I also knew that my matchup into it was a lot of, really just hope and pray that I can deal with the Archaludon. So, here's hoping. I do know that my Rillaboom is faster than a max speed timid Pelipper. I made sure of that. And Bullet Seed is like a 90% chance to one-shot. It's not. It's like a 60% chance. Pelipper, Garchomp. Okay, that is the ideal lead here, actually. No, I shouldn't. I shouldn't, but it would be very funny too. Stomping Tantrum, okay. That's fine. We hang on Sash. Poaching makes this a guaranteed KO even if we only get 4. Goodbye, Pelipper. Blazy can get some HP back, gets a speed boost. Will sends out a Moongus. That's fine. Swords Dance if real. I would like to. But I don't know how well I eat a double up with Sludge Bomb is my problem. Because I don't have AV and I do have a lot of speed investment. I'm not the bulkiest. Clear Smog. Okay. Jesus fuck. Was that a crit? Okay, yeah. I was like, holy shit, dude. Alright, well that's not ideal. Okay, Gartomp's gone. I think I live the rough skin, actually, funny enough, because of the grassy terrain healing. No, we do not. Tragic. Clear Smog goes into Rilla. This becomes a two-shot, I think, because of the crit last turn, which is really unfortunate. All right, is it Arcalodon? Yep. How many turns of, rain do we have left? I think we have too many. 2. They haven't burned their Terra. I haven't burned mine. But I'm going to use it now. They probably Terra the Amoongus. If they do, I think we lose. No, they Terra the Arch. That's a fast Arch, too. Grass. Okay, that actually... Terraflying Terra Blast now hits that decently hard. And I'm multi-scale. Multi-scale AV. Rage Powder, that's fine. Electro Shot goes into the Prima slot, I assume. I'm hopeful. Perfect. Okay, that wastes one Electro Shot. This should do like 70%, I would think. Oh no. Really? I'm not banded. Okay, I think we just win. I think I go for the Haze here. In the event that I live the Electro Shot on Prima, I get rid of their buffs as the rain expires. No, they go Dragonite. I'm multi-scale and AV, so I eat that even at +2. Goodbye. Holy. They teared the wrong Mon there. They 100% teared the wrong Mon there, and I don't know what they were afraid of. Like, I don't know what you're scared of when it comes to Primarina Dragonite. Earthquake, I guess, on grassy terrain. I'm curious, was that just not a very bulky, or do I not know my numbers correctly? Dragonite, Amoonguss, Terra Flying, Terra Blast. No, it's a roll. It's a roll. A good roll in my favor, 65%. Because I do think the other thing is, no matter what they're, because they went for Rage Powder and not like a Spore or anything, that's an Illumise. I feel like Golden Go Electabuzz does very well here. Does it not? With Prima and Dragonite in the back. But they go for my Dragonite with that Electro Shot. They get hazed off and the rain ends. They now struggle very heavily to hit Primarina. Even if they live that, if the Amoonguss lives and gets a second hit and eats the second Terra Blast, Moonblast's a 2-shot every time, and they have no Electro Shot on the board and no buffs, and I'm Citrus Berry, so there's no way they're breaking through that. They're having to click Flash Cannon. So, like, I think we win there no matter what. Another Terra Blast has hit the bridge. Mr. President, I have bad news. Sure, if the bot's not on either. Should turn the bot on. There we go. Alright, I feel like Golden Go does very well here. Illumise Primarina. Okay. The Primarina can easily go for a haze into Golden Go. So I'm not going to set up in front of it. Just taunt it. They have Tailwind. Like, I could taunt it now, I guess, but if they just click Priority Tailwind, then... I guess that would be before I would haze, though. Whatever. I think this double up should be fine anyways. Incineroar, okay. Sure. Big Intimidates. Hyper Voice. That did more than I was thinking it would to Golden Go, but it's fine. No Throat Spray activation. We just double protect out this turn. See what they go for. If they go back into Whimsicott here, that's unfortunate, I guess, but not the end of the world. Like, they can't Encore Golden Go. They can't... They can't Encore me if I follow me, so like... I said Whimsicott, it's an Illumise. Same thing. Golden Go, okay. Instant goes for a knockoff into Golden Go. Electabuzz most likely goes down here to the knockoff and like Shadow Ball double up. Their Dingo is faster than ours, but our Dingo is faster than their Ensign. The Ensign is -1, so everything should be faster than it at this point. They withdraw the Ensign. Illumise. That's fine. They're not gonna Terra this Golden Go. They protect instead. Has Funnymon gamed yet? Blaziken got a KO in her first game. I'm just gonna click Hyper Voice again. Because they have Tailwind online. Make it rain. What we thought. They no longer have any incentive to click Shadow Ball. Rima eats that fine. Now they have a special attack drop. Their Golden Go is also lefties. Fake tears. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Goodbye, Golden Go. That's not ideal. Losing Prima there definitely sucks. The Prima might be E-Speed range, though. I am multi-scale in AV, so I'm not worried about getting moonblasted here. Perfect. Fake tears. No longer relevant. Do 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 do. We do eat the attack drop, but I think that's okay. Do 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 do. Infestation on Golden Go. Okay. Knockoff on Golden Go. Ow. That's an offensive Incineroar. Neat. We're gaming. That's 3-0 on the day. Good start. Good start. Now can we keep the momentum going? That's the real thing. I feel like that's the hardest part of these things. The start is always like, yeah, you can, you know, get a couple. Be a whole ass color. You know me. 1546, 2631. Woohoo! Beat. I thought you were calling me gay, you know? Lauren's, oh god. Much higher than me. One, two. I think we definitely want Rilla here for 3, and then probably Dingo for 4. Yeah, we'll go with that. Two priority stoppers? Yeah, they really do not want me clicking priority moves. Murkrow, Ursaluna, okay. Just Hyper Voice, get the chip. They're gonna Terra right away. Ursa. Terra normal. After a speed boost, I'll remain faster than the Ursa anyways. Like, I might just get Blood Mooned here, which would be unfortunate, but... That's a very fast bear. That is a very fast bear. Pretty fast bear looking ass. Eat my funny little citrus berry. I should now be faster than them, even in Tailwind. Tailwind. I'm not. Holy shit. That is like 252 Timid Bear right there. Okay. Prima goes down. We're gonna trade Prima for the bear. I'm honestly okay with that trade though. I'm max speed adamant, not jolly. But yes, that is a 252 timid ass bear right there. Sneasler. Okay. They want to block the fake out with one of their priority blockers. Yep. Dire Claw goes into the Blaziken slot. They have 2 turns left to Tailwind. All right, funny chicken, do the funny chicken thing. Dire Claw, they are still faster. We go down to Sash. Poison, that's okay. We were gonna kill ourselves anyways. They're Sash on the Sneasler. Of course they are. What does the Serena go for here? Triple Axle. That should be fine. The Sneasler now has a free Dire Claw into Rillaboom. That was the main reason I wanted to get rid of it. You do have Throat Chop. I was worried about that. And Bullet Seed. You're loaded dice, Serena. That's crazy. I should have gone for a Swords Dance. Golden Go lives. We'll Bullet Seed right back. Yeah, I should have just protected on Golden Go, and I think I just win for free if I do. Now I'm not as confident on that. Because the bird has Foul Play, which picks up the Golden Go for sure. If I protect that turn and just take out the Sneasler, don't get greedy for it. I was like, they don't have anything that hits me. They certainly did. I think Rilla still wins this unless they hit Brave Bird. Oh, Rilla's faster than Murkrow too. 1, 2, crit is nice. 3, another crit. Let's go, Rillaboom. Hit 5 and we win. Okay, well, we still win. I would just have Glide. He got tired. He only hit 4 twice, so you know. But they only hit 4 on us, so we take what we can get. Let's go. Nice. That greedy turn almost hurt me a lot. I was thinking if I play passive with Golden Go, they just Dire Claw, and then it's a 3v1, and that becomes a little more tricky, even though they don't have probably any moves that hit me, but they had Throat Chop, so they did have a move that hit me. That whole team was fast as shit, too. Every mon on that team was a fucking 252 ass mon. Okay, P2 Bear. Give me 1, 2, Rilla 3. I think it's Dragonite 4. Prima's good here, but I like Dragonite with low kick to take out the T-Tar and the bear. I like the E-Speed Revenge, and I like Terra Flying Blast into ammo if we need it. Most sneeze. It depends on the set. I think Sash ones are, which I should have known. That one would have been Sash. Most Sash Sneaslers are CC, Throat Chop, Dire Claw. If they're Seed, then they vary a lot more. They have Acrobatics, they have Coaching, they have Taunt, they have any number of other random tech moves. But yeah, a lot of the Sash sets are running Throat Chop, and that team didn't have a terrain setter, so I should have known that was a Sash set. Amoonguss Golden Go. This is a greedy play, and I might pay for it, but we'll see. This is a really greedy play if I don't go for the follow me to get, and they just Shadow Ball into me. But content, exactly. Withdraws the Amoonguss, goes into Incineroar. Okay, that's fine. Big Intimidate on the both Mons. They do just go straight for the raw Shadow Ball. That's unfortunate. Ooh. That's a fast Golden Go too. Okay. Did they fake out here? They do. It's to be expected. Okay. Shadow Ball. Yeah. That's fine. I didn't get the web off, which is unfortunate. I think this might be Specs Dingo too. Theirs goes down. Perfect. Flare Blitz. I was expecting a knockoff there, but that works too. Closing Incense shook off the taunt. Who's the last? It's a Moongus and... I'm gonna slow play this. I want to see what they're doing, what they're clicking, where they're going for it. Flare Blitz into Golden Go. Pollen Puff into Electabuzz. Okay. Who's their last Mon here? That's the biggest question mark I have. Make sure the Amoonguss can't get up to any shenanigans. Cool. Eats the berry. They go for another Flare Blitz. Perfect. Golden Go eats that thanks to the Terra. They Pollen Puff the Ensign. That's fine by me. That means that we stay alive another turn. Heatar is the last Mon. Okay. That does not help me very much with this play, unfortunately. But I think we're fine here. I think Rillaboom and Dragonite can clean up in the back. Knock off into Buzz. Golden Go gets hurt. Ensign is Goggles. We get that confirmation. After the T-Tar, good chip to the Ensign. Knockoff KOs the Buzz. Rock Slide picks up Dingo. Okay, this T-Tar is going out into Amoongus, right? We're all in agreement. Or it Terras. It could Terra Blast. I think this is safer. I was gonna say I could probably click Swords Dance here if the T-Tar is going out into the Amoongus, but I should have clicked Swords Dance. Crit, fake out into the Amoongus is nice. Low kick cleans up the Incineroar. Okay, so now we just click E-Speed and Grassy into T-Tar, right? On the return. That covers for the Terra. E-Speed is faster than T-Tar. Or it's faster than Rage Powder. And Rillaboom ignores it. T-Tar does Terra. If it's Terra Ghost, we lose. Okay, Terra Flying is what we expected. Bink, bonk. Goodbye, T-Tar. So now Amoongus can click Spore, I suppose, but it's never killing Dragonite here. Side Pollen Puff fails, and we just win. I'm going to click Swords Dance on my Rillaboom because I haven't had a chance to yet, and that'll probably make this go faster, and then I'm going to Dragon Claw. There we go. Battle was canceled. I still haven't gotten to click Swords Dance. I should have clicked it on the turn that the Amoongus switched in. I was right that the Amoongus was going to switch in, and I should have just went for it. But alas. But alas. That's okay. 1578 is not too bad after 5 games. GC, no fun allowed. Yeah, I'm not allowed to click Swords Dance ever on any of my mons, and I find that rude. Okay. Mouse, Ape, Rain. Probably Dragonite or Golden Go here. Why am I an Electabuzz? What? I think Dragonite. Why am I an Electabuzz? I'm not an Electabuzz. I'm too Sableye. I don't understand. Basculegion Pelipper, okay. Bubsy. Oh. I see. Wave crash. This is gonna hurt. Ow. That's fine. They take a lot of recoil for that. It's a tailwind. Oh. Tailwind is not what I wanted to see. If this is Terra Ghost Pelipper, I lose. Okay, Terra Water. Terra Grass. Okay. Sure. Take out the Pelipper. Wave Crash into Blaziken. We have Sash. We just simply don't care. Close combat, developer. Okay, Blaziken +2. They have 2 turns left of Tailwind. This is Banded Basque, presumably. Grassy Glide finishes off the Pelipper. Wave Crash goes into Rillaboom. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's banned. Mousehold. Blaziken's +3. They're in Tailwind. We go for the double, we don't get it. I should have just clicked close combat. I should have just clicked close combat. Pop Bomb goes into the Rillaboom. Hold on. Their Tailwind runs out. We get another speed boost. What's their last mon? Is it the Archaludon? Yep. They have 1 turn left of rain. Electro Shot goes into which slot? into Blaziken. Okay. I should have put more speed on my Dragonite to be faster than Archaludon, but... This is a two-shot from right here. They have no rain. Grassy terrain is not great for us. I think the grassy terrain's gonna put this just out of two-shot range, actually. We are AV, we are multi-scale. We need this to two-shot. Draco. Actually, wait, hold on. Because of the Draco, they're now -1. Low kick. I don't think that's a two-shot because of the terrain. But they're now -1. Electro shot is crazy. Low kick leaves them just short. Does an E-speed pick up? They're +3 and resisted. No. And we live it too. I could have just clicked low kick again. E-speed doesn't pick it up. They hit another Draco. Yeah. I didn't think we would live that electro shot, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, we know that for future. If I just click low kick again, we win. Oh, is that Jody? Jody? Is that... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Was that actually... It was. God damn it. Fuck, dude. Okay, that's fair. I'll accept that loss. Yeah, I should have put more speed into my Dragonite for sure. Hello? There's a lot more really fast Archaludons out there than I expected there to be. Damn. If there's anybody in Jody's chat, tell him GG for me. That was crazy. Okay, we've got Pelly Arch, we've got Whimsicott. Gallade isn't side spamming, get his ass. Truly. I think we just go 1-2 with I think we go 3-4 or Dragonite 4. No, let's go 4 here. I should have trusted in Dragonite to live that. At neutral, super effective with AV, non-stab. I should have just trusted Dragonite to live that. I don't know why I panicked on it. Fuck it, I'm clicking it. Fuck it, I'm clicking it. Oh, they just go straight for the Moonblast. Okay. Oh, that's a very fast Dango. That might be Scarfed. Well, shit. Okay, I think we just outright lose now. That is Scarf Dango. I think I should have just gone after the Dango, honestly. Special defense drop sucks on Electabuzz, but... Mouse hold. +2 Terra Grass Glide should KO this mouse hold, no problem. Household protects. Okay. Shadow Ball. Okay. Nothing turn. They have 2 turns left to Tailwind. Gallade. Okay. We're minus... The special defense drop is killer here because I don't think we live the hit here. Blade goes down. Electabuzz does hang on. Okay. The grassy terrain recovery coming in big. Also protects, perfect. Shadow Ball goes into the buzz spot. Gets that KO. If we can get a 5-hit here, this is going to do a ton of damage. A 5-hit KOs. Actually, a 4-hit KOs. Okay, we win. GG, well played. We had Golden Go in the back anyways. So Mouse likely couldn't do much of anything to Golden Go anyways. We lose our terrain, so we have no more glide, but that is okay. Population Bomb goes into Rillaboom. This probably gets the KO. Definitely gets the KO. But they presumably don't have any move that hits Golden Go well, so... Perfect. No shot they have a one-hit KO on Golden Go. Okay. Fair man. It's protect, follow me, pop bomb, and probably taunt. Like, I don't think it can hit us, period. No, bite. So true, man. So true. We got to click Swords Dance on our Rillaboom. Let's go. That was more important than any victory. Getting to click Swords Dance Bullet Seed on Rillaboom means more to me than anything else could. We may have just barely lost to Jody on a throw on my part, but we got to click Swords Dance Bullet Seed on Rillaboom, and that's funnier. Okay, Super. Any relation to Cat? Super. I think we just go Golden Go Rillaboom here, and there's not a whole lot that they want to do about that. I guess they don't love, I don't love a Psychic Terrain lead there, I suppose. I think we just go 1, 2, 3. They do have a Trick Room setter with Indeedee. They have a Tailwind setter with the Bird. Like, Ursaluna's problematic, I suppose, for this, because neither of these mons want to eat an Earth Power very well, but, you know. Ursaluna and Indeedee, okay. I could have gone Terra and gone for a really greedy nasty plot, but if I get Blood Mooned, I'm just fucked. Right. If they call the Terra and just Blood Moon me, I just get exploded immediately. So I want to play smart here. Taunt. Earth power, perfect. Can't use Trick Room after the taunt. Perfect. I really do wish, the one thing that I wish, just for GC, I think Dark is better in general on Electabuzz, but I do wish for GC purposes I was Terra Ghost. Staraptor. Okay. Champion of Sinnoh, yeah, it's a long-standing. They Terra on the bear. Terra normal, okay. If they click Hyper Voice here, that's not great. Okay, Blood Moon is fine. I don't think we live it, but that's fine. Oh, we do live it. Oh, holy shit. Staraptor protects. Okay, that's fine. +2 make it rain should easily take out this bear. It doesn't. That's a lot of bulk. They're especially bulky. Okay, that's fine. Hyper Voice hurts, but it's fine. Actually, Jesus. That's all bulk on that bear. They got nothing but bulk on that bear. That thing is doing no damage. I just realized it's not Life Orb either. That's why my calcs are weird on it. Hi, Miss Bella. Hi. What can I do for you? They withdraw the Staraptor, okay. Goodbye, Staraptor. Welcome back, Indeedee. They withdraw Ursaluna, okay. Heatar, okay. Well, that means the Electabuzz dies, unfortunately, despite my Protect. Jesus Christ. Weakness policy, T-Tar! Alright. I suppose so. Golden Go is sitting pretty. We're back to neutral. But I just go Rilla here. Pretty freely. I can overwrite their terrain. Nothing wants to come in and eat this Make It Rain. I have Fake Out Make It Rain all day of the week. Hi, Miss Puppy. Goodbye, Indeedee. Staraptor, okay. The T-Tar can protect here. They don't, though. We are faster than the T-Tar anyways. I mean, Golden Go just kind of gets out of this unscathed now, right? Everything is low enough that even at -1, this just picks up. Hey, Miss Bella, what are you doing? Stop. What you doing? Make it rain and switch in Blaziken. Just so that we have our terrain in the event of a weird endgame. We can just start picking things up with Grassy Glides. Because everything's in Grassy Glide range. Brave Bird is just going to kill the Staraptor. Blaziken gets thrown to the wolves. It gets its sash and then immediately dies to sand damage. Let's go, Golden Go! Woo! Goodbye, Blaziken. Alright, we have Fake Out, Make It Rain, all we want. And if they protect it out, we just have Glide. Let's go, Golden Go! 4 for 4! He's gaming. He's golden gaming. 4 KOs in 1 match. The full sweep. For our now like -3 Make It Rain Golden Go. I clicked Nasty Plot once and then just started clicking the funny button and everything died. Cavidol. We've got a Pelipper, but no Arcalodon. Three and 4, I think. We have not been bringing Prima to fuck all, which is unfortunate because I think Prima's a really good mon, but we just have not had the matchups for it. Like, the only thing that Prima really threatens here is, like, it can kind of deal with Gambit in the rain. But, like, it doesn't want to see Amoonguss, it doesn't want to see Pelipper, doesn't want to see Basque, it really doesn't want to see Decidueye. Like... Like, I guess Terra Poison would deal with Decidueye pretty well, all things considered, but... Do 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 do. Basket Legion Pelipper. Welcome back, besties. Do 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 do. Uh-oh. 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 I thought it was gonna go out. Pelipper protects. Okay, well, this is a really catastrophic turn for me. I don't think that's banded, though. That's good information to know. Do, 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 do. Okay. Was that a me disconnect? Or a them disconnect? Hello? Hello? Okay. I think we won? Question mark? We won! Great! That was a really bad turn one for me, and we won. That's good, I suppose. What the fuck is this? I want to click Swords Dance with my Rillaboom. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's go 1-2. I think this is the Prima game. And Dragonite. Guess who's got the zoomies again? She has woken back up and once again has the zoomies. Alright, we have a Braviary, right? A solo Armarouge, Ursaluna Braviary. Okay. They could switch in the Serena to either slot here, right? There's the Serena. That's what we thought. I'm likely not faster than Braviary. That's the other problematic thing. Hit one, get set up. Okay, that's fine. Goodbye, Braviary. You lived a good life. Alright, what comes in now? Back comes the Ursaluna. Hyper Voice. God damn, that's another very fast Ursaluna. Okay, so Rillaboom's gonna go down to the triple axle here. And that's honestly okay. We go Dragonite. Low kick. Flare Blitz Serena. Goodbye, Serena. Blaziken likely goes down here, but that does give us access to E-Speed. Hyper Voice does nothing to Dragonite. Good job, Blaziken. Got 2 KOs. This is Life Orb on this one. Wonk. Okay, that's E-Speed range. What's their last mon? Armarouge. Okay. Cool by me. E-Speed, Ursaluna, and Hyper Voice. This is their last turn of Tailwind as well. Not that I think I'm probably faster than either of these mon. Or I'm faster than maybe the Luna. But that's a fast Luna. It's faster than their Serena. They Terrastalize on Armarouge. Paragrass. I perhaps should have protected on Serena. Just let her protect. It's fine. If this is Energy Ball, I'm in trouble. I think Dragonite still wins if we just get KO'd here. Expanding Force. You don't even have a terrain setter! Buddy's just clicking Expanding Force for love of the game! Their Tailwind runs out. E-Speed the Luna and Moonblast the Arma. Goodbye, Mr. Bear. Expanding Force. Doing huge damage to Dragonite. No more grass. Speed the Armarouge. Moonblast the Armarouge. GG, well played. My only loss of the night is to Jody Azzarelli, and I threw what should have been a win, is the craziest part. I think we're doing quite well. Now, there's still plenty of room for it to all fall apart, but I'm pretty happy with this so far. Darko 1703. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Hyphlosion, Sneasler. Okay. Blaziken and Rilla in the back, I think. This team is scary. That's most likely Scarf, Typhlosion. The Gambit's a little spooky as well. An Eruption would be very spooky. Like, I do have some priority things to help lessen the impact, but it would still hurt. Like, even if we glide with Rilla into that high flow slot, we do not love taking that Eruption. I'm assuming it's Sash on the Sneasler until proven otherwise. Okay. Okay. I need to not get Dire Clawed on Dragonite. Prima protects. No protect on either mon here. Fake out into Dragonite. Okay. Kowtow Cleave into Dragonite. Okay. It's the rare fake out Sneasler. Love that. We have won every single game so far except for the one against Jody. But we're about to lose this one because it's fake out Sneasler. And they faked out my Dragonite. And called it correctly. Sneasler goes Terra Stellar. Okay. Sucker Punch into Dragonite gets the KO. Crit, of course. We need no status on this this Sneasler here. Okay. I don't... How do I get myself out of Sucker Punch range? That's the main thing here. Sneasler's faster than me right now. Protect. Okay. Protect. Okay, that's fine. Sucker Punch. Fails. Perfect. Dire Claw. Still does a lot. No status, though. Okay, Sneasler goes down. We get a little bit of terrain recovery. Upper hand, yeah. I just don't have any place to put it on this. High flow. +1 glide, a little bit of chip. Makes the eruption a little bit easier. Kowtow. Ow. We eat our berry. This thing should be scarfed, presumably. So it's scarfed into eruption. Rima eats that comfortably. Hyper Voice deals with that. Kowtow into Prima. Ow. What's their last mon? Their own Prima. I think we lose. If they just have Hyper Voice all day. Sucker Punch goes into the Prima slot instead. Gambit goes down. Yeah, Hyper Voice. I think we just lose the Prima 1v1 here. It's Life Orb Prima. Yeah, we do not live this. We need a outspeed and a special attack drop to have any prayer. Nope, they're faster. They faked out a fucking Dragonite turn 1. On a mon that rarely carries fake out, and we lose to it. Like, you know, should I have probably seen that coming? Yeah. But, I mean... What? Fake out Kowtow into Dragonite. I should have clicked E-Speed. the next turn. That would have been the play to dodge the sucker punch. But just unfortunate. That was also somebody that was 1706, so like, you know, fuck me, I guess. My bad for being on a winning streak. This is almost the exact same team. Let's go 1, 2, give me Rilla 3, give me Golden Go 4. You just returned, just finished a movie. Welcome back, Bree. Yeah, like I think we played that last one really well to bring it back to where it was a winnable position. But that turn 1 was catastrophic because why the fuck would you click a mon that's notoriously inner focus? And why would you double that slot? Just none of it makes sense. Salaman's Primarina. Okay. This is possibly the worst lead I could have gotten. Not gonna lie to you. Their Terra goes to Ments, I'm assuming. Okay, that leaves the Primo vulnerable. Terra Fire. If you click Terra Fire Heat Wave right now, I'm going to be furious, by the way. If you go Terra Fire and click Heat Wave into 2 resists, I'm gonna lose my mind. Dragon Pulse. Okay, that's fine. Life Orb on the Prima. Dragon Claw. Okay. No. Dragonite has some speed, but not much. I didn't change the set, and I should have. I'm gonna be sneaky here. King Gambit, that's fine. Prima protects, perfect. Perfect turn. Perfect turn. It draws the Prima to go into Ments, presumably. Yep. Now they want to click Heat Wave, probably. Oh. At only +1, this is doing fuck all damage. Holy shit, this is a bulky King Gambit. and we only get 4 hits. We have not gotten a 5 hit yet tonight. That's a 50-50 chance, and we have not gotten one of them. Just by the way. Yeah, I think we just lose. Heat Wave connects into both. Dragonite hangs on, but is going to die to the King Gambit. Oh no, the King Gambit goes for a Swords Dance. Oh, crazy. Okay. Okay. I'm hoping that he sees the Sucker Punch. Okay. No. Free Marina. Okay, that's fine. Can give it protects. Okay, that's fine too. I don't think we're in range yet, though. I think they switched. I don't think they want to switch out the close combat or the Gambit here, but they do. Yep. We call that correctly. They want the Ments, or they want the Dragonite back down. Intimidated again. Stream speed crit is lovely. I don't know that it makes much difference, but it probably helps that roll. Dragonite might be able to bring this back. Sneasler. Actually, no, we E-Speed Sneasler, break that Sash, and CC the Salamence. Sneasler has Fake Out. Apparently every Sneasler in the West now has fucking Fake Out. They faked out the wrong spot, though. Okay. E-Speed the Sneasler and Protect. I just want to break the Sash on Sneasler. Gambit protects. Okay, that's fine. Dire Claw finishes off Dragonite. Okay. So this thing has Fake Out, Dire Claw, presumably close combat. It cannot hit Goldingo, correct? We're all in agreement that there is very little chance that it's not carrying Protect. Because I think we just Protect Goldengo and close combat the King Gambit. Throat Chop, that's exactly what I'm worried about, is if they just don't have Protect on this thing. King Gambit goes for the double Protect, does not get it. Shoutouts Blaziken for cleaning up 3 KOs in this game. Dire Claw takes us down to Sash. And gets the poison. 07s to Blaziken, you did your best. But I think we're okay here. This should be one Make It Rain. And I don't think they have a way to hit. Yeah. They got almost everything they needed. If they got the double Protect, they unironically win. That's the part that's crazy about it. Bop, bop. Bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. $16.23, $6.57. Pretty solid, I would say. I'm pleased with how we've done so far. That one, we came back from the fucking clutches of death, where we probably should have lost. We had the worst possible lead. Okay, that's a Typhlosion. Hi, Miss Bella. Hi again. How may I help you? I think we went Rilla, and I think we went probably Goldengo. Do I take Blaziken over? I might take Blaziken over Prima here, actually. No, I like Prima. Blaziken's speed offering is really nice. But I like Prima to take some hits. Bella, can I help you? Okay. Dragonite and Primarina. I could very well get burned on my Dragonite here, which is not something I would love to have happen, but okay. We are multi-scale. We should be able to eat this fairly comfortably. It's a resist Solar Beam. Now. That wasn't on my bingo card. Well, now, okay. Are they locked in? Are they Scarf? Presumably. Oh my gosh. Jody, hello. How are you? Welcome in, Raiders. I'm gonna assume that this is Scarf, and if it's not, I might lose for it. Welcome in. How were your matches? If you don't know Jody, a all-time great of VGC. Someone who I greatly admire. We actually played against them earlier. It was a down to the wire match that I think I threw. But they played it very, very well. I hope your games were going well. Woo! Okay, that works. We did play. I was the Dragonite who E-speeded instead of low-kicked your last mon. The Arch. Yep. Yeah, that's the one. Over 1,700. You'd love to see it. We're doing pretty well. I think we are... This is our first day playing, so we haven't gotten a lot in yet. But I think we're 2 losses on the day, and we're in like 1,600s. Okay, our Dragonite is still multi-scale intact. I'm going to get rid of this Ninetales, and I'm going to go back into Primarina. I don't want to eat the flamethrower or other such move onto Golden Go here. Because I assume if it's Indeedee here, Sneasler's likely the last mon in the back. You Cake, take care. I appreciate you for bringing everybody on by. Hope you have a good one. Anyone who's new, who doesn't know who I am, my name is Kodak Zach. I'm a largely variety streamer, but I do play a lot of VGC. Expanding Force, that's fine. We're multi-scale, so we eat that comfortably. Life Orb, okay. Rima eats its berry. Overheat, perfect. Oh, it's a jetpack. Wait, switch this into the Sneasler. Please switch this into the Sneasler. It would be so funny. Oh, baby, let's go. Hello, Sneasler. Goodbye, Sneasler. Eat this Terra Blast. Sick. Okay. We have all of our mons in the back still. Fairly healthy. We have Rilla to overwrite the terrain here. I think the biggest thing we want is just rid of this Ninetales. Helping Hand, Expanding Force is going to hurt, but we're AV, so we should be fine to eat it. It might have been an idea to go Rilla this turn, just to weaken the Expanding Force, but I was worried about eating an Overheat. Okay, we're good. Terra Blast goes into the Ninetales. Not enough to get the KO, but we have the funny option now. Primarina goes out. They lose their terrain control. And this Indeedee shouldn't really have great options to deal with Golden Go in the end. Or the Rilla, for that matter, honestly. Expanding Force picks up the KO on Dragonite, but Dragonite did its job. Excellent. Excellent. Sun runs out. Indeedee gets some health back. Do we think they protect out the fake out turn? Because I think we just have a nasty plot here, even if they don't protect it out. Battle's canceled, yeah. Cool. Let's go. Did you get your matches done, but you also want to eat? That's why you made coffee. Tryouts are done, so you're free from that stress. Hell yeah. Need to keep playing so you can earn a measly 5 points and say Braviary earned points. Exactly, that's the way to do it. You get to say, hey, I earned points this season with Braviary. And I think that's pretty sick, you know? I'll get to hopefully say that I earned points with Blaziken. We're 497, 1636, and 13 battles. I think we're 11-2, if I'm not mistaken. So I will take that so far. Como-O, Amoonguss. Golden Go is not ideal. Okay. We definitely want Prima, and then I'm thinking either Blaze or Dragonite in the back. I think we like Dragonite here. Rilla only really helps us with the Prima, and I think we're okay in that regard. Oh, they've got the biblically accurate Florges on their profile. I love it. Como Pult. Okay. Actually, do I go for the plot here and follow? I think I do. We live a choiced ghost move, and we're fine with a darts lock-in. If this is Iron Defense, Como, we pretty heavily wall it out. If this is a like setup Como, it depends on what their coverage move is. Dragon Cheer Draco the spam. I see the vision. Okay, well, good news. Prima now cooks that in the back. Light screen. Okay, it's support pult. It is indeed support pult. If it's not soundproof, true. I feel like a lot of them aren't, but if it's Terrafire, maybe it is. Okay, this is an Iron Defense set. Again, I'm just not the most afraid of that. They withdraw the Pult. Draw out Incineroar. Soundproof specifically for Prima. Yeah, that's where I'm like, if they are soundproof, that would make sense to be Terrafire. Body Press goes into Buzz. You can yoink gold with flame, yeah. But not on an Iron Defense set, I would assume. I would assume you're not running Flamethrower on Iron Defense. Well, would you look at that? All right, let's keep Buzz on the field for one more turn if we can. We are +4. They do have light screen, so we're essentially +2. Web misses the Como. I think that's fine. Shadow Ball. Woo! Okay. Buzz does not get a chance to stay alive for one more turn. Tragically. Flare Blitz. Okay. Perfect. I would say that is a perfect turn. Como is too low to eat another one of those. Now we go into Prima, who heavily threatens the Ensign as well. Do I click Make It Rain here? I think I click Make It Rain here. Make It Rain Hyper Voice covers all their options. Because that'll do enough damage to both targets here, even though it's resisted. Yeah, Como protects. That gets enough chip damage, and Ensign's -2, so it's definitely slower. It doesn't get enough. Oof. Okay. Knockoff goes into Golden Go. That's fine. That screen is putting in some big work. But we do threaten a double knockout here. Shadow Ball and Moonblast. They pull the Como. Go into Amoonguss. Okay. Shadow Ball still does a ton of damage and gets a special defense drop. That means another one will get the KO. Polt comes back in. They have 2 turns left of... Golden Go protects. Draco. Okay. Okay, we win. They live that? I know they're in screens, but still, that's a Dragapult. Okay, we don't win. Never mind. Okay. We swap in, give up our buffs. Okay. How are you doing, Sombra? Good to see you. Dragonite should eat this pretty comfortably. Perfect. Rima stays asleep. Pollen Puff goes into the Polt. So here's what we have now that's interesting. Their light screen runs out. Dragonite is AV multi-scale, yeah. Light screen goes back up. If Prima can wake up, I think this double will be close to enough. Because it's -1, but it doesn't. Dude. I was gonna say, if we can get the Amoonguss down here, the Polt is trapped in at -2. They withdraw the Polt. Como comes out. Dragonite stays asleep. We're gonna see the reveal if it's soundproof or not. Prima, no we're not, because Prima's gonna stay asleep for another turn! Woo! Who doesn't love 3-turn sleeps? Ugh. That's killer. That's a killer 3-turn. That was one we just legitimately couldn't afford. Please wake up. Please wake up, Dragonite. Please wake up. Okay, huge. Huge catch. Dragon Claw should be plenty to get rid of that. Primo will wake up and will get the haze this turn to get rid of their iron defenses. Perfect. Okay. Dragon Claw, Moonblast, the Amoonguss. This thing shouldn't be able to really do anything. It's Body Press, Protect, Iron Defense, and Flamethrower. It shouldn't be able to hit either of these mons unboosted. I don't know if this double KOs the Amoonguss. It doesn't. It protects. Okay. Terrifier Flamethrower into AV Dragonite is going to be doing big damage! Big damage! Alright. Again, I don't know that this double up KOs. But this thing should never be able to break us in time. I think this double up does, but it's also in screens. Yeah, Amoonguss goes down. Cool. Dragon Claw and Haze. Body Press does decent damage. Not nearly enough. Do. Dragon Claw and Moonblast. Okay. Fair. Buddy is hanging on to hopes and prayers for this endgame. Body Press. Not doing enough damage. We eat the berry. Buddy. It would save us both a lot of time if you just hang it up here. Your light screens run out. Okay, you're gonna protect to keep getting your lefties recovery. Let's just keep it going here. Buddy, you realize there's another mon in the back, and it's faster than you, and it's a special attacker, right? I just want to make sure we're still aware of all these facts. Yeah. My brother in Christ. I'm switching Dragonite into Golden Go this turn. Let's just speed this process up a little bit here. Dude. My guy is playing like his world's life is on the line right now. Yeah, I should be timer stalling, honestly. You're right. That would be the smarter thing to do. So we're now just gonna sit here for a while. If you want to make this miserable for both of us, I can make this miserable for both of us. Don't you worry. We got all day. Body press. Doesn't get the KO on Golden Go. We did it! Jesus fuck. I love Iron Defense Body Press Como. It's the Pokemon of all time. Well, we did it. Well, at what cost? I feel like is the question of the day. We did it, but at what cost? 314, 1654. Not too bad, not too bad. Emily, 1585. All right, Emily, what you cooking for us? We got our Caledon Rain. Woo! I think this is our two. Actually, 3 and 4. Now this could be a Garchomp lead, which would be not ideal for me because they would want to click a ground move, probably Earthquake, and I would not appreciate that. But they do have a Rillaboom, so maybe they don't have Earthquake. Teleport Garchomp! This thing is clicking Earthquake. 110% this thing is clicking Earthquake. Just don't be weak to ground. I think that's our game plan here. We'll see if it works. There's the earthquake. And there's the tailwind. Okay, that's fine. I don't think we really are too bothered by that. Now, if they hurricane into the Electabuzz spot, that would be really bad for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anything else I think would be fine here. Garchomp clicks Earthquake. Weather Ball, perfect. That did a lot still. I don't know that I had room to do this plot here, but we're gonna go for it nonetheless. This feels very risky. In fact, too risky. Protect Golden Go back into Buzz. Now they're inclined to be clicking Hurricane and Dragon Claw, which means I can redirect. Outrage! Okay! Well then! That's a little more than a Dragon Claw, huh? Alright, the question is, do they wide guard? Because I would love to click Make It Rain here. I would love to click Follow Me, Make It Rain. They have one turn left to Tailwind, but I can see them wide guard. They withdraw the Pelipper. Okay. Or Arcalodon. Okay. That's not something I love seeing here, but I think we live with that. This Outrage is gonna hurt. Not gonna lie to you. Ow. Make It Rain should do enough to get the Garchomp. It doesn't. Oh my god. That's a bulky ass Garchomp. He is bulky. He clicks Swords Dance. I guess all of those things are correct. What does our turns... Actually, that's good, though, because they don't get a free swap into Heli. And they're clicking Outrage. They have one turn left of Rain. We just double protect here. They Terra. Grass. For covering for what exactly? They just removed their Make It Rain resistance to gain nothing? Body press, okay. Rain stops. Golden Go gets back to full health here. Spore Golden Go? Oh, you're so right. Make It Rain and follow me. The Garchomp didn't run out of outrage turns either, which is a little tragic. I was hoping it would be out by now. And it would be confused, but... No, they probably were looking for Focus Blast on my Golden Go, to be honest, but I don't know why they would. I've already shown Nasty Plot and Protect. Earthquake, that's doing nothing. They do give themselves a stamina boost, which is clever. And I'm going to give them another one. But... So Electabuzz will probably go down to this body press. But, yeah. That actually works perfectly because now I go into Rillaboom. And I can Bullet Seed the Pelipper to kill it. Before it can get another wind up and my Golden goes faster and we just Bullet Seed Shadow Ball. KOs both. My Rillaboom is faster than every Pelipper. Unless it's Scarfed, which I can say that it's not because it already went for it. Oh, Primarina. Okay, that works too. They just opt to not go for the Rain Setter here. And instead go for the Primarina. That's fine too. Yeah, I just Shadow Ball the Archaludon and Bullet Seed Prima. Do 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 do. Prima protects, okay. Sure. Do 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 do. They live that on that HP. Are you kidding me? Okay, they body pressed the Rillaboom slot, so that's actually fine. I can't believe that Arch lived that. I thought based on split target, make it rain at +1, that was no-brainer. Okay. Thankfully, body press is not the best move they could be clicking here, even though they are plus a billion. They could have been clicking, you know, Draco into my Golden Go, which would have been a lot more catastrophic. Goodbye, Primarina. You had a good life. You didn't do anything this entire fight, but Shadow Ball cleans up the Archaludon. Like, from turn 1, they were trying to click Body Press into my Golden Go, which I feel like just doesn't make sense. Why would you click Body Press over Draco? Oh, Flag Spike. Hello. What's the Blaziken set? It's Focus Sash, Speed Boost with Battle's Cancel. Cool. Focus Sash, Speed Boost with Detect, Coaching, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Terra Stellar. Coaching helps get some setup boosts on Rillaboom and Dragonite. Gets a defensive boost on Primarina on occasion, which can be helpful. Very niche, usually, interaction. And Stellar Close Combat and Flare Blitz both do a ton of damage. This guy's gonna Terra Steel. Just why I was already Terra Dragon. I was already there. Okay. It's the balance team. It's the one. Hold on. Give me 1, 2, give me actually give me 1, 2 Golden Go, and I think we want Blaziken, actually. Preem is really nice to haze away any Quiver Dances from the Volcarona, or Swords Dances from the Gambit. We could also haze away like an Intimidate from the Tauros. We know Blaziken is very good against Gambit Rilla stuff. Can heavily threaten both of those mons. I do think some sort of redirection might have been nice, having Electabuzz, but King Gambit Rillaboom, okay. Cool with me. If another person close combats or fake outs my Dragonite, I'm gonna be very upset. I'm just saying. I've had too many people faking out into my Dragonite just on the assumption that it's not inner focus, and I don't like that. If you don't fake out, I'm pretty sure this just kills Rillaboom. Primarina protects. Woodhammer. Okay. Excellent. Goodbye, Rillaboom. Good start, I would say. Kowtow breaks my multi-scale. Ow. That was through multi-scale? Really? Tauros. I think Dragonite is a very important mon for us in this endgame, so I would like to keep it safe. Yeah, AD Dragonite is crazy into this. Like, low kick handles the Gambit really well. Tauros goes out, okay. Clefable comes in, okay. They're trying to get Intimidate cycles on. D-Knight set, I like this D-Knight set a lot. I think it's very good. Good chip. Special attack drop is nice. Swords Dance. I almost just clicked coaching Haze. Actually, I'm gonna just click Haze. I think maybe detect Haze would have been better, but make sure I keep my sash. Helping hand. I could have clicked close combat into that King Gambit and killed it instantly. Burn on the Clefable is lovely. Just means some extra chip. Haze. Say no to Swords Dance. Kowtow. Goes into Blaziken. Still hurts like hell. But, much more doable. Blaziken gets a speed boost. I am going to coaching my Primarina now and Hyper Voice. Black Glass's Gambit hits like a fucking train, dude. That's a resisted hit. It did like 40% the Dragonite through multi-scale. Like, that motherfucker hits hard. I feel like now they want to sucker punch the Blaziken. And that's one of the big reasons that I want to quit coaching here. That's fine too. Intimidate is fairly irrelevant here. Mirror Herb is tragic, but it's fine, I think. Gambit uses Swords Dance. I mean, I just haze the field again, right? Tauros can't do anything to actually damage me. And I'm faster than the Gambit. Do 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 do. They Terra. Tauros, grass, fodder for Dragonite at the end. Sucker Punch, fails. Wave Crash, this is a resisted hit. Yeah. Terra Blast. Terra Grass, Terra Blast would have been crazy there, but... Do we think that they are going to go after the Blaziken, or do we think that I can just close combat this King Gambit right now and win the game? They seem very preoccupied with the Primarina, I'm not going to lie to you. They've tried to Swords Dance twice. Like, they have Aqua Jet so free into this slot if they choose to take it. but I think they're so worried about the Prima, and they think that I keep using the Blaziken very passively. Okay, there they go. They do finally do it. Tragic. Moonblast. Still chunks the fuck out of Tauros. Sword's dead. You think I won't do it again? You think I'm not going to click the button again? You speed the Tauros. Hey. Oh boy. Oh boy. Already have. Long ago. But thank you. Actually, I showed extreme speed. They don't sucker, right? This is greedy. And I might pay for it. Hold on. I think we just win. If they don't sucker that slot, we just win. Beautiful. Beautiful. Damn time. Honestly, I'm saying. Oh no. My Dragonite's attack stat. Yeah, AV Dragonite just kind of dumpsters that team. It's very good in that matchup. I never even pulled out the Golden Go. Neato! 165, 1681. Let's go. Lewis, 1666. That's a Cinderace. It's beat up Whimsicott with Ape. And a Cinderace. Blaziken and Golden Go, I think, are my last two. I do like Primo a lot here, actually. Dragonite, the one issue that this Dragonite set has is that it doesn't hit Golden Go very well. Cinderace, Dragonite. Okay. I don't know what the Cinderace is going to do, and I don't want to find out. I almost clicked web just to be safe and cover? Coaching. Okay. That's fine. I don't love that, but we do have Prima in the back who can haze away those buffs if needed. Stomping Tantrum. Okay. Sure. Get rid of the Cinderace. We're going to go down here, but we do get a pretty important speed drop. Oh, no, we don't. They also E-speed, and they crit it. Not that I think the crit mattered, but we are already faster, though. That's good info to know. Golden Go. Okay. They're gonna tear something. I assume it's the Dragonite. Yep. They're also Terraflying, which makes me think they're probably multi-scale. I think I should have hazed this turn. Nope, they just make it rain. Okay. Perfect. That actually works in our favor, because Dragonite can eat that comfortably. Get a little bit of damage down on the... Oh, they double into Dragonite. That's not ideal. Okay, yeah, I think we lose. Damn. That needed to not be a double. I thought for sure they would want the Prima off the board. Hyper Voice and Detect. They withdraw the Golden Go. Incineroar comes in. That's a good target to eat this. Hit. I think we might need a double protect on Blaze, though. They called correct targeting on every one of these, unfortunately. Oh my god, that's just one-shots, huh? I guess it's +1, but still. That's not banded. Yeah, we lose. Ah, that sucks. Yeah. They just got the right 50-50 every time. I should have hazed that first turn, but... It is what it is. I didn't think that was just going to outright kill either. I'm not going to lie to you. We barely dropped from that, though. Press 16, 18. All right. What on God's green earth am I looking at here? Dragonite and I think it's Rillaboom. I feel like this covers our bases pretty well. Do 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 do.
do do. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. Do 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 do. Go back to bed, you'll spam your matches when you wake up and pray. It's optimal, I think. This is a weird one. I don't know what this team wants to do. All right, what's the leads? Corviknight Primarina. Okay. Taunt. I don't want any shenanigans out of this Corviknight. Okay, just robbery birds. Ow! Holy fuck! That's an offensive Corviknight right there. Their Prima's faster than mine. It's throat spray. Special attack drop, nice. Dark Chomp, okay, that's fine. Moonblast. Gives him the buzz. Okay. I feel like the Chomp wants to Terra, but I feel like the Chomp also thinks it can just pick up this KO. They withdraw the Prima. Okay. Goes Terra Ground. Okay. Terra Ground Earthquake. Okay. Boom takes that comfortably. Going right back into Electabuzz to eat this Brave Bird. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Stomping Tantrum. Okay. I thought being Terra Ground you would be banded. You were not. Okay. Yeah, you're Lorb. Okay. We should eat that Brave Bird comfortably. We have a tough time breaking this Corviknight. We needed Prima to get more chip on it than it did. Okay, this is still gonna hit pretty hard here. I need this to be a two-shot though. That is not a two-shot. Tailwind, okay. Going to Dragonite. An Electro Web. We're gonna lose our own speed here to do a little bit of damage onto the Corviknight. Shiny King Dragonite, welcome in. Heat Wave, I don't think we live it. Oh, Electabuzz does hang on. We lose. We lose. Instantly. Instantly lose. Oh, okay. That burn is devastating. Oh, that burn is so devastating. I think we had a path without the burn. With the burn, I think we have no out. We just can't break the Corviknight in time. Yeah. That sucks. I should have brought Golden Go. Golden Go had a really solid matchup into everything except for the Chandelure. Would have helped a lot against the Corv. Just unfortunate. How many games do we have left? We have a lot. This is our first day playing. So we still have good amount. Thinking about getting this, but don't know if you should. Genuinely, I think the best advice that I can give you is pick them based on the legendaries. What legendaries you like more? Those are the ones that are going to be harder to get, just, you know, generally. So pick the one that you like the legendaries for more. Because every other exclusive you can get pretty easily through just trading. Yeah, also that. Do you want to ride Koraidon or Miraidon? Damn, that one took us a hit. That one took us a big hit. That's okay. That's a Feraligatr. No. I was like, this feels strong into a lot of stuff, but that Glamora is a big issue in that scenario. Let's go 1, 2, and then have those two in the back. Why haven't I pulled up the DFW locals? Genuinely, a lot of it is time and location. I'm just kind of far out, but I do want to go. I think there's a lot of places that I would like to go. Okay. Let's go here. Terra Poison keeps us fairly safe from the Glim. It can go Terra Grass, Energy Ball, it can go Sludge Bomb, it can go whatever. I feel like we're pretty okay with all of those options. The Glim is obviously the Terra. Terra Grass. East or west? I'm north. I'm far north. Louisville? That's not too far. That's like 45 minutes. I could probably manage that. I do want to go to some. It's something that is very much... It's Pop Bomb Mouse. I should have known. I should have known it would be. Thanks to Citrus, I think we live, but I don't know if we live the double. No, they get it. I should have known it was Pop Bomb. I should have known it was Pop Bomb. Am I in the Texas Discord? I am. I don't talk a lot in there, but I am in there. Meteor Beam, okay. I should have known this was Pop Bomb. That's on me. I think we just outright lose. Never mind, Electabuzz, you're the GOAT. Electro Web misses on which slot? Glamora, not great, but... Okay. We have outs now. Follow me, no protect from the mouse. The mouse was the big one to get that Earth Power, ow. Granted, I will say, I would have loved to, broken a little more damage on this thing, but I think a Blitz is enough to get the KO. Roster for VGC and Klunken, welcome in. Golden Go. Okay. If I can get the web off, I think I'm in a very decent position. The good news is the Golden Go can't Terra. Withdraws the Golden Go. Okay. Trying to bait it. Murkrow. That's fine. Get a Detect on the Blaziken. Spiky Shield. Okay. All around nothing turn. Seed drop on the Murkrow is fine, I think. Okay. I am +2 right now. So they have to Tailwind to be outspeeding. Okay, or they can Haze. That's fine too. I think I'm still faster. I am not still faster. Okay, that's a fast Glamora. Electabuzz hangs on 6 HP. Huge. Flare Blitz into the Glamora. Picks that up. Toxic Debris. I think I have to live a Make It Rain. I think that's my only out. Follow me, they go Tailwind. If it's Specs, I think I die. Blaziken the goat? Blaziken the fucking goat? Now I need this to kill. Blaziken the goat! Living on 1. Woo! If it's foul play, we win. If it's Brave Bird, I don't know that we do. That's really it. We've got a 1v1 here. If it's Brave Bird, we probably lose. If it's foul play, we probably win. We Bullet Seed and then Glide every time. Okay, they want to protect out the terrain turns. I don't think they're gonna get enough because the Poison Chip and the terrain will pretty much cancel each other out. We'll take a little bit of damage, but it won't be bad. Games are going pretty well so far. It comes down to what attacking move this Murkrow has. What is the attacking move of choice on the Murkrow? Is our big question mark. Perish Song. Okay, never mind. It's not a attacking move. How much is Bullet Seed doing here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Get it 5. Perfect. 5. That's glide range. They would need to get a crazy amount of protects to stall this out. Actually, even if they somehow stall it out, I still win because I am slower than the Murkrow. So I would die second. They don't have it out here. They need triple protect. And even if they get it, they still lose. Brother doesn't know how Perish Song works. Murkrow does not get the double protect. We will not get to see it. Grassy Glide picks it up and we win. GG's. All right. All right. That one wasn't looking too good. I burned my Terra and my Primarina on a Pop Bomb mouse that I should have seen coming. But, We take those. Shoutouts to Blaziken for living that Make It Rain on 1 HP. Getting the huge Flare Blitz. Okay, dope. 284. 1659. Not too terrible. For Mora. Oh, we're dancing. Oh, we be dancing. I feel like I like Prima against most of what they've got going on here. And then Golden Go and Blaziken in the back. Rilla is really helpful in a Gastro. Actually. I think we make that call. And then we need Buzz, and I think it's Blaziken. Because I feel like the Gastro is going to want to click annoying buttons, and I don't want them to, so. We do have Haze to get rid of any shenanigans with the Quiver Dances. Do 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 do. Volcarona Oricorio. I should have led with what I thought I was going to. Can't believe I ignored this. Listen. I don't wanna get you with the actuallys here. I don't want to get hit by the actually. It's not a bird, it's a chicken. River Dance, okay. Double Quiver Dance, perfect. This is why we clicked Haze. What is the Oricorio going for here? Revelation Dance into Prima. That's fine. That hurts, but we're fine. It's Life Orb, that's why it hurts. Big crit. That's a bulky Oricorio. 3, 4, we need the 5th. 5. It does hang on. I think I should have protected that turn, but I should have protected that turn. I absolutely should have protected that turn, actually. Withdraws the Oricorio. Ninetales. Okay. Or Terra. I feel like Terra or a Protect there helps me a lot. Oh, they just Quiver Dance again. Okay. They're greedy. Hyper Voice does good chunk. Protect on Primarina and Web. Like, they get the Veil up here, which I don't love. I don't really have a good way to stop that. Giga Drain fails into the Protect. Oh, Ninetales just goes Raw Blizzard. Okay. Electro Web. This is presumably Cloak on the Volk. Yep. That's fine. The main one we're trying to get around is the Ninetales. They're still not tearing, which I find interesting. I assume they're Dragon and they don't want to get Moonblasted. But Giga Drain, that's fine. Electro Web drops the speed on the Ninetales again. Ninetales is still faster. Oh, that's not good. If the Ninetales wasn't still faster there, I think we had a good good out. That makes things a little more awkward, for sure. We also left the Volk just shy. Oh, hello, Electabuzz. Protect Prima. Fiery Dance goes into Buzz. Does get the KO. No special attack boost. It does get the special attack boost. That was the one that I needed. It is Covert Cloak on the Volk. We know that it is. Grass disappears. I think I need Fake Out to get this KO. Bulk protects. Okay. Thunderbolt from the Prima does not get the KO. Does get the paralysis though. Does Glide into a 4x resist get the kill? Does not. Okay, we lose. We auto lose. Ah, god damn, dude. Too much didn't go our way in that game. I can't believe that Ninetales was still faster. That's the thing that still gets me. Because Prima wins this game otherwise. Prima literally wins this game if that Ninetales isn't somehow still faster at -2. And it's Fiery Dance, not Heat Wave, so I can't even hope for a miss. And I think they got 2 out of 2 Fiery Dance boosts, too, which is sick. I don't think this close combat even gets the KO. Not that it matters. Dude, just hit me. For fuck's sake. We live on 1. I think our out there was actually, if we could have protected that turn, they're +2 speed, we get to +2 speed, we outspeed them on the helping hand. But I don't think we outspeed them. If they're timid, we don't outspeed them. And then we could win, hypothetically. Yeah, we don't outspeed them. They're timid. We would have needed to get a double protect on the helping hand turns. Rillaboom terrain just keeping them alive there on that second hyper voice. If I faked out into the buzz the prior turn, calling them to do that, we might have had an out. Because Primo would have been able to take 1. But I think that's always probably the call going back on it. Is you fake out the buzz, knowing that they only have single target, you fake out the buzz and you hyper voice, which forces them to have to click Fire Dance into Rillaboom. It gets the KO on Rillaboom, but you get the KO on Volk, and you just win. Okay. This is something. With Rillaboom, Blaziken in the back. It's the normal rain shenanigans, but with Prima as well. Rillaboom goes crazy here if I can just get rid of the Arch. Rillaboom goes insane. Archaludon, Golden Go. Cool. Okay. The only thing that they can really hit Electabuzz with is Draco and Shadow Ball, which keeps Golden Go very safe. They Terra right away. Which mon is Terraing? Golden Go. Terra Steel. Okay. They want to click specs, make it rain, it looks like. That's fine, though. We're both resisted. This should hit hard, but not too crazy. Oh, no. They're clicking Shadow Ball. Okay. Shadow Ball, ow. They are faster, which is a problem for me. Dragon Pulse, I think we live this. Shadow Ball the Golden Go, and follow me again. They don't have anything that wants to come in on this Shadow Ball either. Like, Pelly can come in and eat it and go down to Sash. Oh, Ensign. Ensign can come in and eat that. You know? Forgot about Ensign. That being said, they've Terra Steeled the Golden Go. We have 3 fighting weaknesses for Blaziken to start close combating. That did a fuckload of damage. Blaziken can come in here and just start clicking close combat. They've already burned their Terra. I think we just double protect here. They withdraw the Incineroar. Go into Pelipper. Okay. That's fine. Electro Shot goes into... Okay. This doesn't get the KO without Stellar, is the scary part. I don't think. But I don't want to Stellar it yet in the event that it's an Ensign switch in. They withdraw the Pelipper. I should have just doubled that spot. I should have just doubled it. Okay, good damage into Arch. Gets a stamina boost for its troubles. Shadow Ball into the Ensign. Does get the knockout. We don't have to worry about fake out pressure next turn. Dragon Pulse goes into the Golden Go. Okay, that's fine. Do 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 do. Okay. We're -1. So now we go Stellar. To make sure we hit through this this Golden Go. We have Sash, so no matter what the Archaludon does, we're okay with it. They withdraw the Archaludon. Perfect. -1 helps us neutralize the Stellar. Or it's the other way around, but... Goodbye, Golden Go. Perfect. Let's go, Blaziken. And Blaziken's sash is still intact. And we are so speed boosted that even if they somehow set Tailwind and Protect, they just die the next turn anyways. Which the Arch doesn't have Protect. See, I saw this game and I said, boy, this is a Rillaboom game. This is a game that Rillaboom feasts on with all these water types. You just got to get rid of the Archaludon. As it turns out, they brought all the Mons that Blaziken feasts on. They're thinking long and hard about this one. And the funny thing is they really don't have an out. Because close combat just picks up the Archaludon here. They can click whatever button they want on Pelipper. It does not matter. Because we have Rillaboom in the back who outspeeds naturally. And if they go for like a Tailwind, they can just... I just Grassy Glide. Actually, they just die anyways. Weather Ball goes into Blaziken, who lives on Sash, and Blaziken will pick up 3 out of 4 KOs on this one. Let's go, baby. +4. God, my defenses. I have been a clicking close combat, huh? I'm gonna click Flare Blitz for the people. Okay, well. Goodbye, Peter Porker. You did your best. I think that's 20 games, right? Let me back out here. 21. 21 battles were 327, 1654. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's where we're going to leave it for stream for tonight. We've been going for about 4 hours. It is midnight. So we are going to look for somebody to say hello to. Let me see who we have that is live. WD Michael is doing some ranked ladder. We could go see... I'm trying to keep it in the VGC sphere here, because there's a lot of folks playing it, but apparently not that many. Teo is playing. Also, I don't know if I said hi, but hi, Sudoku. How you doing? Alrighty, let's go say hi to Teo. I don't think we have gone over there very often. They are a friend of Keely's. They are a friend of Topo's. They are a very good VGC player. And they play a lot on the gimmick of they love their turtles, and he plays a lot of Wartortle. So if you like seeing Wartortle on ladder, have I got the place to go for you? Hey-oh. VGC. Spell that right. Alrighty. So thank you all so much for hanging out. I don't know if we're gonna stream any more of the GC here. I'll probably play a few of the final games offline. But I'm pretty pleased with this. Like, genuinely, I think we finished probably 16-5 would be my guess. I didn't keep exact track, but I think we were about 16-5, which is very good. I'm very pleased with that. And 327 is a pretty good mark. You know, I think we peaked around 100, so also very good. Pretty happy with that. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you to Jody for the big raid, for all the follows that came through. Anybody else who's out there, you know, hanging out, lurking about, appreciate you all. And I will see you on probably Tuesday. Monday/Tuesday tentatively, but probably Tuesday. Take care. Have a great night. Bye-bye.